When you think of sports, you think of football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, and the list goes on. I can bet that some of you in this room would not think that cheer is a sport. So why isn't cheer considered a sport? I argue that it should be. Let's start by going over the definition of a sport. A competition against an opponent that requires physical activity. The competition compares the skills of each opponent with set guidelines and rules to decide who wins. Would everyone agree that this is the definition of a sport?
Yes.
Well, cheerleaders falls into this definition. Competitive cheerleading includes lots of physical activity. Like gymnasts, cheerleaders must learn to tumble. They perform standing back tucks, back handsprings, and full layout twists. Cheerleaders also perform lifts and tosses. This is where the flyers are thrown in the air, held by bases in different positions that require strength and cooperation with other teammates. Competitive cheerleaders' goal is to be the best. Just like gymnasts, we are rewarded points for difficulty, technique, creativity, and sharpness. The more difficult a stunt is and the sharper and more in sync the motions are, the better the score. Cheerleading is a team sport, so the team must work together or first place is out of reach. Cheerleaders don't use beams or bars, but during competitions they do perform on mats. They also are judged on the difficulty of jumps. Jumps are expected to be high, like those competing in the high jump event in track. Cheerleaders are also judged on stunning capabilities. We must work as a team to lift and toss another team member into the air and catch them safely. If this isn't done right, a net could be snapped. We must stay in shape to do all that is required during competitions. It is not just a seasonal sport, it is an all year-round sport. I know from experience, cheerleading is not as easy as people may think. People don't see the other side of cheerleading. They do the same things that other sports do, and maybe even more. During practice, they run, stretch, do drills, core work, and practice our dances and cheers. They also practice stunning. Cheerleaders are tough. They don't use hip pads, knee pads, chin guards, or helmets. According to the National Center for Catastrophic Sport Injury Research, cheerleading is the #1 cause of serious sports injuries to women. Emergency room visits for cheerleading are 5 times the number than for any other sport, partially because we do not wear protective gear. We must rely on our team working together and perfecting our game to not only win, but to prevent any injuries. So why do so many people think cheerleading is not a sport? It can't be because this sport does not require the use of a ball. Wrestling, swimming, diving, track, cross country, gymnastics, ice skating, and boxing are required sports that do not use balls. Cheerleaders today compete against other squads and work just as hard as other athletes. Therefore, I argue that competitive cheerleading is a sport. It is a physical activity that is governed by rules under which there is a winner. Cheerleaders compete against other cheerleaders from different schools and then compete for regionals, then go to nationals. We practice as much as any other sport, and we do more intense training that involves all of our muscles. Hopefully, cheerleading will become as well-known a sport as football and basketball and even appear in the Olympics, since cheerleaders are just as athletic and physically fit as those involved in the more accepted sports. I would challenge other athletes to go behind the scenes at a cheer competition. I truly believe that they also would say cheer is a sport. I do agree.